Hello, this is D, and I'm back with another video. Today I have a bunch of news stories that are pretty big in the gaming world. Now we're going to talk about the PlayStation's future and if the PlayStation 6 is coming earlier than expected. Of course, we're all waiting for Microsoft's announcement. Now this week, they announced on Monday that they will be talking about their future plans for Xbox on a Thursday Xbox podcast. Now a lot of people didn't really like the format of this. And I don't really care about the format, I just care to have my questions answered. And this Thursday, we're gonna have a definite answer on what games are coming to other platforms. Now, I have to rule out that no games are not going to other platforms, because if that was the case, they could have came out with a simple press release saying that all of their first-party games are going to remain on the Xbox platform. Instead, they came out with an announcement telling us to wait further, which is Thursday. We don't have that much longer to wait, that they will be telling us the future of the Xbox gaming division. So I think Thursday we're gonna get some bad news. I think we're gonna get some good news. I don't think all of the games are gonna be going to other platforms, but I do indeed believe that some games will make an appearance on the PlayStation, will make an appearance on the Switch. Now, I said before that Hi-Fi Rush is most likely going to be on the Switch and the PlayStation 5 because the data leak, all the information is there, so we cannot deny that. We're also hearing that Sea of Thieves is going to make an appearance on those platforms. Now, we've also heard some rumors that Starfield is going to make an appearance there. And then we saw some of these outlets kind of walking back that statement. However, I do believe we're going to see more than 2 titles go over to the PlayStation 5. I think that Microsoft is kind of testing the waters. And like I said before in previous videos, certain games do make sense. First-party games like Gears, Forza, Halo do not make sense making an appearance on the PlayStation 5. Now, there's some other reports circulating that Halo is going to make an appearance on the PlayStation 5. A lot of people are arguing the free-to-play multiplayer, that it is available on PC, it is available on Xbox for free, and it would just make sense to bring that over to the PlayStation. I gotta disagree with that. Halo is Microsoft, is the Xbox's identity, and I just don't believe that that game should ever touch a PlayStation. Well, we're gonna find out on Thursday, and of course, I'm gonna come back and report on that. Now, we also have some news regarding the future of Xbox. Now, this is coming from Xbox Era, and like usual, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, Jason Ronald, if you don't know who that is, he's the man that's responsible for developing the Xbox Series X and S hardware. Now, a lot of people were expecting the Series X to be much more powerful than the PlayStation 5 because the specs on paper were just better. It was touted to do things such as mesh shaders that were not available on the PlayStation 5. Now, we found out recently that the PlayStation 5 actually can handle mesh shaders. Now, another feature that was exclusive to the Xbox was VRS, the hardware tier of it. And we're seeing that this really didn't make a big difference in the scheme of things. A lot of games that had hardware VRS, it didn't really look so good. There was a lot of blurring. There was some image quality things that were going on. I'm just saying that it didn't materialize to any type of advantage for the Xbox Series X. Now, I say that to say this, that it appears that Jason Ronald will no longer be responsible for developing the Xbox hardware. That is going over to the Surface team. So this is a pretty big deal. I don't understand why a lot more outlets are not covering this, but this is pretty big. The architect of the Xbox Series X and S is no longer going to be developing hardware for Microsoft. Now, some may say, oh, this signals that Xbox, they're no longer going to make consoles. No, it doesn't. It just signals that somebody else is going to be responsible for the next Xbox hardware. Like I said, this is a pretty big deal. If Mark Cerny was let go or somebody else took over his position at Sony, it would be a pretty big deal. Now, Mark Cerny, I gotta give credit where credit is due. At the time when he revealed the PlayStation 5, the specs, they were weaker than the Xbox Series X. But in practice, the PlayStation 5 is holding its own. Most games perform pretty much the same on both platforms. You have some games that have an advantage on the Xbox Series X with a higher resolution, and you have some games on the PlayStation 5 that have better frame rate. But when I look at both consoles, I can't really say that one console has an advantage over the other because they both just trade blows in games. Now, the Surface team, they haven't been doing too good lately. The Surface division, it's kind of bringing in less profits. However, they do make great hardware. And I'm hoping that if this is true, that they make a really good next generation Xbox Series X. And I think they're really going to need to, because PlayStation, they're really not playing around when it comes to next generation, and they might even be jumping into it a little bit early, which leads me to my next story. Now, after sales of the PlayStation 5 failed to meet expectations, Sony has said the console is entering the latter stage of its life cycle. Now, this is crazy. Now, this is coming from IGN.com like usual. I'll leave a link in the description down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, the latter stage of its life cycle, and a lot of people were upset with me saying that the PlayStation 5 Pro is not going to come out. The PlayStation 5 Pro is rumored to be coming out later this year. It's supposed to come out in November. It's supposed to be more powerful than the PlayStation 5. However, we're hearing some reports that the CPU, it isn't much better than what is found in the PlayStation 5. However, the GPU is substantially better. So you're going to get better graphics. You're going to get better ray tracing. You're going to get a higher resolution. Now, the CPU is a tad bit better. I'm not saying it's as bad or it's the same as the PlayStation 5's CPU. The PlayStation 5 doesn't have a bad CPU, just for the record. However, it is variable. But we're seeing in practice, like I said, that it's holding its own against the Xbox Series X. In some games, it even enjoys a lead. So the system, it's fine. However, the CPU, if you want 60 FPS across the board, it's just not good enough in the PlayStation 5 nor the Xbox Series X. So I was hoping for a much improved CPU to ensure that these games would be running at 60 FPS. Now, some of these games will get a bump up on the specs that are rumored for the PlayStation 5 Pro. So if a game is running at like 40, 45 FPS, it may get up to 60 FPS. Now, games that are running at 30 FPS and they're kind of maxed out on the PlayStation 5, don't expect those games to be running at 60 FPS on the PlayStation 5 Pro. So it's kind of a side upgrade, not quite, maybe a little bit more than a side upgrade, because you are going to get better performance. It's just not as good as we expected it, because the main thing that is holding this generation back is that there are still 30 FPS games. 30 FPS games in 2024 is absurd. I really believe that all games should be running at 60 FPS. And I was really hoping that the PlayStation 5 Pro would ensure that games run at 60 FPS. Now, a lot of games are going to get a boost up to 60 FPS, but I can't confidently say that all the games on the PlayStation 5 Pro will be running at 60 FPS. And in my honest opinion, I believe that is a problem. Now, let's hope that some of these reports are not correct, that they actually put a better CPU in the PlayStation 5 Pro. But as I see it right now, these rumors seem to be pretty accurate, especially where they're coming from. So it doesn't really look like we're going to get a huge upgrade on the CPU side for the PlayStation 5 Pro. However, I find it really interesting that Sony is saying that this is the later stage of its life cycle for the PlayStation 5. That would kind of signal to me that the PlayStation 6 is coming a lot sooner than later. Now, the last story I want to talk about today is Sony president, I'm going to butcher his name here, Hiroki Takaki. I know I just butchered it. Forgive me, guys. Anyways, he says he wants to go aggressive in improving the margins by growing first party with multi-platform. He goes on to say, in the past, we wanted to popularize the console and first party titles. Main purpose was to make the console popular. It is true, but there is a synergy to it. So if you have a strong first-party content, not only with your console, but also other platforms like computers, first-party can be grown with multi-platform and can help operating profit to improve. So that is another one we want to proactively work on. I personally think there are opportunities out there for improvement of margin, so I would like to be aggressive in improving our margin performance. Now, I've said this for a long time, that Sony should be bringing all of their first-party games to PC. They are a different market. Taking your games out of the PC market is not really going to grow your PlayStation console fan base. It just really isn't. PC gamers and console gamers are separate people. Yes, there are some PC gamers that own a console or some console gamers that own a PC, but for the most part, they are two separate markets. So if you want to increase your profits, of course, you should have your games available to as many gamers as possible. So it makes perfect sense. Now, will we start to see them being really aggressive and releasing their first-party games day and date on PC. I would love to see that. I personally believe that if Sony exclusives were to release day and date on PC, they would substantially grow their profits. PC gamers would buy these games. Now, even if they don't want to do it day and date, say even a month to 2 months after it releases on the console, I still believe that would have significant growth on their profit margins, as PC gamers once again would buy these games. PC gamers are not going to abandon their expensive, powerful rigs to go get a PlayStation 5. Some of them will, but the amount of people doing that is minuscule compared to the big scheme of things, to all the millions and millions of gamers that you're missing out by not releasing your games day and date on PC. Now, Microsoft is releasing their games day and date on PC, and they are seeing the most growth in this sector. They're not seeing the most growth on Xbox console. They're seeing the biggest growth on PC. When you look at Microsoft's Game Pass numbers, there are more Game Pass PC subscribers than Game Pass console subscribers by a significant margin. So they are really growing in the PC sector, and this is an untapped market for Sony. They release their games on PC like 2 years after they release on the console. So that's a lot of missed opportunity. And I think that they see the money that Microsoft is making in the sector, and they want a part of it. And let's just be honest, if Sony games were on PC, they would sell gangbuster numbers. Anyways, I want to know what you guys think about all of this. What do you think about Sony's president saying that they want to be more aggressive on bringing their games to other platforms? Do you think that we're going to see first-party games day and date on PC? Or do you think it's going to be less of a staggered release? So we're not going to see games maybe 2 years out, maybe 6 months, maybe 4 months out after the console release. Also, I want to know what you think about Jason Ronald no longer being responsible for the Xbox Series hardware. Do you think this signals the end of Xbox hardware, or do you think the Surface team will step up and release the best Xbox yet? Let me know in the comment section down below, and tune back tomorrow as I'm going to have a video up on what Microsoft said on their Xbox podcast. So like I usually say, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one.